else is cute.
Who?
Tony. Have you seen him naked? No. Have you? Of course not.
But you think he's cute, though, don't you?
He's a fine person. No, he's thoughtful and he's sensitive and he's very good with Jonathan.
And he's very built, too.
Yes. He has his share of muscles. He's solid and responsible. That's it. He is the most responsible man I have ever met.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to AO, the Who's the Boss podcast. That one wasn't very good. I didn't like that one.
Oh, you don't think it was?
No.
Oh.
It wasn't deep enough.
Oh, I see.
There wasn't the Tony baritone to it. So, here we are. Guess what? Oh, I'm Tori.
And I'm Kevin.
We didn't say that, right?
No.
No, okay, good.
No, not yet. We were talking about your AO.
Right. Right. Okay, here we are, guys. Season 1, episode 22, the season finale.
I was late with that.
It's still like, and then it's going again. Yay! Okay, so this episode, which I'm sure everybody knows, is called First Kiss. Mm-hmm. It first aired on April 16th, 1985. The TV Guide summary says, Angela and Tony are tempted to compromise their relationship while celebrating, and celebrating is in quotes, Angela's birthday. Now, the Amazon Prime, like where they have the rating at the top left hand of the screen, they usually have like the little labels that say why it got that rating. And for this one, it says sexuality and drug use.
Ooh,
I know it makes this episode sound way more salacious than it actually is. Yes.
That's like, is this an episode of Mad Men?
Right. Episode of Outlander? What's happening?
Sexuality and drug use.
So, but yes, I guess for Who's the Boss standards, this one's probably a little racier than the rest. So,
I'll take it.
We open this episode with Tony,
who's cleaning the banister with his ass.
Yes. Sliding down the banister on a rag.
Yes, that he sprayed with some kind of cleaner.
Yeah, so much for Housemaid's Knee. Was that what it was called?
Yeah, Housemaid's Knee, I think. Yeah,
Housemaid's Knee does not slow him down at all.
No.
Like, you would think it would hurt to land that if he had some Housemaid's Knee.
Yeah.
The doorbell rings. He goes to answer it, and we finally meet one of Angela's friends. Mm-hmm. Up until this point, Angela has had no friends. Tony's only had one friend, I think, still, up to this point, which was Angela's boyfriend for a short period. Yeah. But yes, so at the door is Mrs. Whitner. Her full name is
Whitner.
Wendy Whitner, and she is played by Dory Brenner. Now, Wendy Whitner will be in more episodes. What I found interesting is on IMDb, her name is listed as Wendy Whitner, Wittner, and then for some episodes, it's Wittner.
Oh, like Whitner.
Yeah, like they have a really hard time nailing down the last names of characters on this show. We've had the Battaglias, Bergozis, the Bobby Michelson, Bobby Walsh, and Wendy. Wendy's last name changes.
Oh, it's good. Good note keeping.
Yeah, but here she is. So Wendy comes in.
And obviously she couldn't call and find out, talk to Angela and see about going out. She has to come in and stop by. Right.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, you probably... Maybe she was on her way to go meet Isabel, I think she says.
Yes.
And so she just stopped by. Oh, you know what I skipped? I just wanted to say a little bit about Dory Brenner. So she will be on a few episodes of this show, playing Wendy. I think she's in 5 total episodes. And, she did a lot of character acting throughout the 80s and the 90s. She was on Ned and Stacy for a bit, which I've never watched, but I believe it.
I recognize her, but I'm the only thing I can figure is I can recognize her from this show, from Who's the Boss.
She also kind of looks like my OBGYN, Dr. Perlo.
Okay. Well, there's that.
Don't you think she looks like Dr. Bill?
I guess I could see that.
So, and unfortunately, she passed away also from cancer, I believe, in September of 2000. At 53, very young.
Oh, young.
And she worked all the way up until 2000. She was in Sunset Strip and the TV show Bull.
I know I watched Sunset Strip, but I doubt I remember from that.
Yeah.
Or we watched a few episodes of that.
No, I think this is a different Sunset Strip.
Oh, is that the one with Matthew Perry?
No.
Oh, I thought it was the TV.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a TV show with Matthew Perry and...
What was that?
Hang on. It was Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
That's right.
Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
And it's with Matthew Perry, and they were running a studio,
right.
Obviously. Hence the name.
Studio 60.
Yeah. And anyway, that's what that show. That's what I'm confusing about.
Okay. So Wendy comes over to tell Angela that she and Isabel are going to Taco Loco that night for dinner, and they want to know if she wants to join them. And Angela comes out from behind, like we see her come out of what must be a room back there that we haven't seen yet, back from that like den area. And so Angela's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like that must be where the party is. And Wendy's confused. She's like, every year my mom throws me a birthday party, a surprise party, and that must be where it is this year. And Wendy's like, oh, it's your birthday. I didn't know that. And if there's a party, I wasn't invited. And if it turns out there's not a party, then just come meet us there. So Angela's still not buying it. She's like, oh, okay, sounds good. Thanks, Wendy. And Wendy leaves. Now, Mona comes in from the back door, right. And she's holding up 2 dresses. She wants Angela's opinion on which one she should wear because she's going on a date to the Oingo Boingo concert.
Right, which and also insinuates that maybe the date is younger than Mona.
Oh, because
it's Oingo Boingo.
Right, yeah, but Mona, she's in college.
That's true.
I'm sure she's not listening to the stuff that Tony and Angela listen to.
Right.
No big bands.
No big band.
But yeah, I love that. And like, I realized only a couple years ago that Danny Elfman was the lead singer of Oingo Boingo, who is now more well known for his movie soundtracks like Nightmare Before Christmas. So she's holding up the 2 dresses, and they both look like they could be church dresses,
I know,
which is odd for Mona.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think that she would be way more like casually dressed to go to the Oingo Boingo concert. So again, Angela's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I'll help you pick out a dress. Good, she's still not buying the fact that there's not a birthday party.
Right. Convinced that there still is.
Right. So the kids come down the stairs, and
they're all packed.
Yes, they've got suitcases. She thinks the suitcases are a nice touch.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And she's like, oh, okay, and I guess Mrs. Rosini's really coming to get the kids. And Tony comes downstairs. He's pretty nicely dressed, which kind of throws her for a loop, but he's on his way to the Y to play some basketball.
Yeah. Confused me, too.
Yeah, I know.
I actually was confused.
It is interesting that he's so nicely dressed to go to the Y.
Looks like a college professor.
Right. But maybe he and his friend were planning to go out afterwards,
So maybe they were going to get ready.
Yeah, because the kids are gone for the night.
That's true, because kind of looking ahead, when they're done at the gym, the 2 of them are dressed up.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe
so probably if they hadn't
somewhere.
gotten roped into the drinking test, then they would have gone out. So Tony's playing around. He bounces the basketball and it goes up underneath his sweater. Right as Mrs. Rosini shows up. So he answers the door.
Right, and then she comes in and gives him a hug and feels the basketball underneath his shirt, and then she's like, oh, and then she's like, she's so liberated, she got you pregnant.
Yes. So, thanks, Mrs. Rosini.
Yeah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Corny 80s joke.
Yes. So Angela's surprised to see Mrs. Rosini, and she's like, oh, you really are here. And Mrs. Rosini is very confused as to why Angela's confused, because they had this whole thing planned out.
Right, they talked about it on the phone.
Right. So the kids get ready to go. They leave. Tony leaves. And now she's really starting to realize that there isn't a party.
No.
And she voices that. And her mother is still there. So she said that Mona throws her a surprise birthday party every year. And then Mona says there really isn't a party. And then we don't hear anything from...
Right.
Angela says there really isn't a party. And then we don't hear anything from Mona. So we meet a friend of Tony's, who is Jeff, played by Jeff Conaway.
Jeff Conaway.
Yes. So interestingly, I'm reading one of Mary Lou Henner's books, and I was just reading about how she was in the very first production of Grease, like not even off Broadway, like when Grease was first written. Like she knew the guy who wrote Grease.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then she ended up in the touring company of that, and Jeff Conaway played Danny Zuko on the touring company, and then moved to Broadway a few years after it opened. So yeah, I didn't realize that he actually played Danny Zuko.
Right, he was Danny Zuko, right.
Yeah, because then later in the movie, who does he play in the movie? Hang on, I'm going to find it. I got it right here. Kaneki.
Kaneki.
Yes.
How could we forget?
I know. How could you forget Kaneki? So, Jeff Conaway's probably most well-known, I would say, for Grease. And then...
that and Taxi.
Oh, right, yes.
He was in Taxi.
He was in Taxi with Tony, which
Tony.
is probably why he was on this show. But
Yep.
unfortunately, I think what people know him most well for is that he was on, like, Celebrity Rehab. Was that the one with Dr. Drew? Yeah. And unfortunately, he passed away in May of 2011. And he was only 60 years old.
Really? 2011? I didn't realize it was that long ago. I remember.
Yeah, I know.
I remember when he passed away.
Whenever I hear...
Because John Travolta was trying to help him out because they were good friends since Grease.
I know. It seems like time goes by so quickly.
Oh, my gosh.
Then you're always like, really? That was that long ago?
But that is one of those. I remember exactly where we were when I heard. I mean, not that he was some huge...
Right,
the president or something where you always remember. But I do remember hearing about his death and where we were.
Now, here's another interesting thing. It's on IMDb. There are 2 movies that are still in post-production that he stars in. That one is coming out in 2020 and one is coming out in 2021.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that was put on hold.
Yeah, for a very long time. So... let me go back here. Okay, so they are done playing basketball at the Y. It sounds like Tony's team beat Jeff's team. Mm-hmm. They're kind of like ribbing each other. Jeff makes like a joke about how he went to Amherst.
Yes.
Which we looked up as a college in Massachusetts.
Right.
And then Tony makes a terrible joke as to how many other girls were on the team. So he played basketball for Amherst.
Right.
And then Tony makes a joke about him playing on a women's basketball team. So it's another one of those jokes that you would not hear today.
Yeah, it doesn't fly today.
Yeah. Like, that's along the whole lines of run like a girl.
Yes, throw like a girl, run like a girl.
Exactly. Which has been now taken over as a, like, pro-girl statement. So... as they're playing around out there, a police officer comes out, and he's there because he's doing a class at the Y to show teenagers the effects of alcohol.
Of course.
And they need volunteers to basically drink in front of these kids because they need someone who's over 21, and they want to show the different levels of alcohol has the effects on them.
Which would never happen, but...
Really? Is that not a thing?
I don't think it is. Now, you think it would be?
I don't know. I mean, I guess if they're over 21 and it's simulated, I don't know. I really don't. I mean, it's been so long since I've been in high school. I don't remember if they would have ever done anything like that to show you the effects of drunk driving. But yeah, so first they're like, oh, we won't get... Tony's like, I'm not going to get drunk because I'm from Brooklyn. And
right, whatever that means.
Right.
I guess you can drink a lot if you're from Brooklyn.
Yeah. So, but then he decides to do it. So he and Jeff both go and decide to get drunk for this class. And at the same time,
But then there's another bad joke in there where he says, hope you're serving pink ladies. Which I guess is a kind of I don't know how to describe it. Like a, frou-frou drink.
Right.
Probably because then, and then he comments, he's from Amherst.
Now, isn't that also kind of a call out to Grease?
Pink lady. Oh, very good. Pink ladies.
Right? Because they were the pink ladies.
Yeah, he says, unless you're serving pink ladies.
Right.
I should have looked up what a pink lady is.
For the drink? All right.
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
Yeah, maybe we'll discuss it later. You can make me one someday. So at the same time, Wendy, Isabel, and Angela get home from Taco Loco. So I guess after Angela realized there was no party, she decided to go drown her sorrows in a margarita and some Mexican food. Isabel is played by Fern Fitzgerald. The main thing I feel like she would be known for is Dallas. She was in 73 episodes of Dallas. And then she also played Miss Wilkie on an episode of Seinfeld. So I thought you might know who she was on that, but you didn't, right?
No, I did. I mean, I'd have
we'll
to see
go
her
back
in the
and watch
episode.
that episode.
Yeah,
and see
I
if we
remember talking
recognize
about
her.
that, and I don't remember.
Yes, and she's not going to be on the show as Angela's friend as much as Wendy, but she will be back also. So they get in. Angela and Wendy are wasted. Isabel isn't drinking because she's a doctor, so she's on call.
Right.
And so she had to drive them home, which that had to be super annoying to be
Around those two drunk people.
two drunk people and be sober. So at the same time, Jeff and Tony are getting wasted at the Y. And Tony
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, Tony's showing off. He's dancing. He's like kicking his little cup in the
Once
air.
again, that what is it called? Housemaid's knee.
Right, housemaid is not
Thing of the past.
right. He's doing a split.
I know.
And he falls out of
very
the
Tony
chair.
Micelli, very
I know.
Tony.
So both he and Jeff are pretty drunk also. Now back at the house, the girls start talking about men. Mm-hmm. And Wendy's like, you know who I think is really cute is this new tennis pro at the club. And Isabel's like, oh, Corbin? I gave him an appendectomy.
Right. Okay.
And they're like, oh, you saw him naked? And Isabel's like, you know, if you've seen one naked guy, you've seen them all. And then Isabel's like, you know who I think is really cute? And she says, Tony. And Angela's like, yeah.
You seen him naked? I know, that was so funny.
I know, it was so cute the way she said it.
I know, and it's actually them playing drunks, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Like, they did a really
cute.
good job playing drunk people.
So Isabel's like, no, but have you?
Right.
And
insinuating.
Right. And you can tell that Angela's like realizes that their question is serious. Like they're basically asking her if she's sleeping with Tony.
But fun fact.
What?
Tony has seen her naked.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
You're right.
So, which isn't brought up, obviously.
Right.
But she hasn't. She's seen Tony naked, but Tony's seen her.
Right, that's true.
As we remember.
She could have taken the conversation in that direction, being as drunk as she was, but she did not. So, you know, she's like, no, of course not. Like, Tony is thoughtful and sensitive. And she's trying to point out all of his, like, non-physical characteristics.
Yeah.
But the girls are like, yeah, and built.
Right.
And she's like, yes, I mean, he has his share of muscles. So she's trying to not act like she's ever noticed that he is physically fit. But it's not going so well.
Right.
And so she stresses that he is the most responsible man that she's ever met. But now here's the thing, like, it seems like if you find a guy who's so thoughtful and sensitive and responsible and then also looks like Tony Micelli, it's like, well...
Yeah, what are we doing here?
Yeah, like, what are you waiting for? Like, I guess because he doesn't, you know... At this point, they still consider each other to be on different levels. Probably not as much Angela as Tony does. So she says he's the most responsible man that she's ever met. And right then, Tony enters singing a drunk Italian song.
And that's the best way to describe it.
Right. And he's like, oh.
As only Tony can.
Exactly. And he's like, oh, hi, ladies. And he's like, 6 of them. So, right. And Angela asked him if he's been drinking, and he says yes. So he explains that. And he doesn't really explain it very well as to exactly what he was doing.
Right, why they were drinking at the Y.
Right. Yeah. But he basically says, you know, like he got run over by a train and all this different stuff.
Yeah, I didn't understand any of that.
Well, because they probably had them, they didn't show it, but they probably had them pretend to drive.
Oh, right, I gotcha.
I do know that there are those simulators.
I feel stupid. They probably did. You're right. I'm like, I didn't understand what any of that meant.
Yeah, they do those simulators where then you have to, like, you're in a driving situation, you have to try to react, and you're under the influence. So he comes in, and then Wendy says to Isabel, "Quick, make him take all of his clothes off and examine him."
She has to convince him that she has to examine him right now.
Right. And right then,
that's funny.
Isabel gets a beep on her beeper.
Yes.
Which, what is that?
I know, but even then, nobody had beepers. Only doctors.
Yeah,
Back in the
that's
80s,
true. So this
beepers
was when,
didn't
like,
become a thing until the 90s, really.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, like the common.
Right. Only really important people had
Yep.
beepers then.
Yep.
So Isabel is a very important person. So she's like, "Oh, I gotta go. 2 beeps means an emergency. Come on, Wendy. I will drive you home."
Right.
So they go to leave, and on the way out, Wendy's like, "Happy birthday" to Angela. So Tony realizes that it's Angela's birthday, and at first he feels really bad because he thinks he's forgotten her birthday. But then he remembers that he had no idea that it was her birthday.
Right.
Which is funny because I guess at this point, like...
This would have been Angela's first birthday that he was working there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Right, because we're not out of the first season, so yeah. He got there in September, we're now in April. So, yeah, this would be her first birthday. And he probably doesn't even really know, like, unless they've discussed it, they don't really know how old either one is or anything. And then I was thinking about it, too. So, Samantha has more than one birthday on this show. Angela's having a birthday here, but I don't think there was ever a Tony birthday. There's going to be another Angela birthday, too. And there's never a Jonathan birthday.
Definitely Jonathan.
I know. Poor Jonathan got nothing.
Right.
So he's like, "Okay, well... I'm going to go out right now, and I'm going to buy you a present."
Right. But then he realizes he's loaded.
Right.
And he can't go out and pick her up a present.
Exactly. Yes. So instead, he's like, "I will bake you a cake."
Which is, it's pretty much such a drunk thing to do, in a way.
Right.
Let's go make a cake.
Right. So she's like, "Oh, I told... Wendy, that you were a good cook," and she did she ask for? Double fudge walnut.
Well, she's like, "No, you don't have to do that," and then it's double fudge walnut.
Right. And so there are a couple of things I noticed here. One, Angela, when she's on the couch, you can see that her pantyhose has a really bad run in it.
I think there's like 2 runs in them.
Yeah, possibly. And they look like they also have a pattern. Either that or her legs are speckled, and I don't think her legs are speckled.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a pattern.
Yeah. So, like, how? I didn't realize that pantyhose had patterns back then. I'm so glad pantyhose isn't really...
Are not a thing anymore.
Yes, so happy. So, and I love that Tony has everything he needs to just whip up a double fudge walnut cake.
Of course he does.
I know. He's Tony. So, they go into the kitchen... They're talking... What does that sound?
I don't know.
Okay. They go into the kitchen. They're talking about, oh, yeah. She said, "I told Wendy you were a good cook." And he's like, "Oh, you and Wendy were talking about me? Like, what were you saying?"
He's curious.
Yeah, he wants to know. And she's like, "I was just saying that I was really happy that I found you," which really her mom found him. And he tells her that he's happy too, and that, as much as he never thought that he would ever be a housekeeper for a living, that this is pretty much the best job he's ever had. And, she's happy that that's the case. And he says, that he loves Jonathan and that he has a new best friend in Mona. And he's like,
right.
He's really not bringing up at all what Angela means to him. And then finally he says, "And I have a boss who's pretty okay."
Right, yeah.
And then she says that she remembers...
But, why can't they be nice and sincere to each other? It has to be, I understand, it's the working relationship and all that stuff, but I don't know. To me, it's just kind of funny.
I guess also because they're drunk. So maybe they're just worried they're going to say...
But it's always like that in a way. They don't want to... They try to keep it, quote-unquote, professional.
Right. So Angela says that she remembers now that she told Wendy that he's pretty okay.
Right.
So she picks up a handful of flour and throws it at him.
Yes, for no reason.
She's being flirty. She's drunk.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I mean...
Don't ever throw flour at me.
So what's funny is last weekend or the weekend before, our kids had a birthday party on Zoom that was like a cooking class. And at the end of it, the kitchen was covered in flour. And it made me think of this episode, except that I was with 2 kids.
Right.
And there was
right,
no
yes.
kissing Tony Micelli at the end of it. It was just me cleaning the kitchen.
Which is how every
day goes.
Right.
So she throws the flour at him. He picks up flour and throws some at her, and
then it's on. It's flowers flying around.
Flower city. It's going everywhere. And they're kind of chasing each other around the table, and then he catches her and they kiss. Mm-hmm. And the audience really enjoyed it. They were very excited.
Yes. Well, we're waiting for it.
Yeah, so I have a clip that I want to play from Judith where she talks a little bit about this kiss.
The writers and producers in ABC were so careful. They wanted to give people something because everybody could feel it. I mean, it was in the room. It was the elephant in the room. But they also knew that it was very important not to get them together. So there were teasers all along that were about our relationship. And so that was one of the first ones. And so people went crazy. I mean, they loved it.
Now, for a sitcom kiss, I'm going to say this is a pretty hot kiss. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just kind of the right amount of, like, hovering before they actually kiss.
Yeah, just the right amount of flour on both their faces.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that. Like, did they get flour in their mouths? Probably.
Oh, God.
And, you know, those 2 actors have a lot of chemistry. And I always think that, you know, the perfect mix of chemistry is probably, like, an actual attraction that is never resolved. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's definitely, you can feel the tension between them, and I think it was great. It was a really great first kiss.
Yeah, it was done well.
Yeah. They break apart, and Tony immediately is like, I am so sorry. So, like, Tony has apologized for every single contact that he and Angela have ever had up to this point. Like any accidental hugs, when he put his head on her shoulder. Mm-hmm. And so this one, he's probably like, I gotta really apologize for this one. And his sorry is actually really cute. So Angela's kind of like, oh, you know, I feel faint. And he's pretty proud of himself then. But she's really starting to faint. So she's looking at the cake.
All those margaritas at Taco Loco.
Right. She doesn't understand what's going on. And he's like, okay, well, hang on 1 minute. You just need to lay down. But she just, like, lays on the floor in the middle of the kitchen.
Well, yeah, first she leans against the counter, right? And then he's so proud of himself.
Right.
And then she just falls onto the floor.
Yeah. So he picks her up. And, okay, here's the first of many fat jokes about Angela that come from Tony. So, like, we're used to Mona making fun of her, but this is the first. So he picks her up and then he, like, says something in Italian, giving the indication that she's heavy. But the woman is so tiny. And I'm really glad that none of that, like, I don't understand. I guess it was funny. I guess so. I guess that was considered funny. But
well, the running joke with her is that she eats a lot of
chocolate and desserts
and always has a sweet. She has a sweet tooth.
Right.
So I think that was where it comes from. But yeah, it doesn't make it right.
Right. So, and I'm glad that none of that ever extended to Samantha, because on Growing Pains, there were a lot of fat jokes against, I can't remember the sister's name on Growing Pains.
Tracy Gold.
Tracy Gold's her real name.
Character.
Yeah. Shoot. Anyway, Tracy Gold ended up having a lot of issues in her own life because she said that some of it was the fact that they openly would make fun of her on Growing Pains, and it was like a running joke on Carol, right?
Carol.
Yeah, that Carol was fat.
Yep.
So, you know, as ridiculous as it is that they're doing these jokes about Angela, I'm glad it never extended to the kids at all. And again, that's something that you just really wouldn't see today.
Yeah, no.
So in that interview clip that I just played earlier, Judith also talks about some of the comedy in this scene. So at this point, he picks her up off the floor.
Right.
And he's trying to get her upstairs. And has always said about her, like, if he thinks the audience will laugh, she'll basically let him do whatever he wants to. So he said, like, I'm going to bang you into the door frame. And she's like, do you think that they'll laugh? And he's like, yes. And she's like, go for it. Smash me into the door frame. So she does. So he picks her up. He's trying to get through the door. Smashes her shoulder into the door frame.
Yeah.
Then switches position and just starts dragging her like a dead body.
Right.
Then she's like, this isn't the way Rhett Butler did it.
Right, and Gone with the Wind, which was a big, dramatic.
Right.
He kisses her and then he carries her up the stair. But it's like the stairwell is like 20 feet wide or whatever. It's this dramatic scene. Maybe that's what she was looking for.
Right.
It was funny.
So he just kind of hoists her over his shoulder.
Do you think people then would know who Rhett Butler is?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess, because Gone with the Wind.
Yeah. I think even I don't know this young, but I got into Gone with the Wind when I was like in middle school. Okay. So definitely adults knew it.
Yeah, because she doesn't even say the way Rhett Butler did it in Gone with the Wind. Right, she just says Rhett Butler.
Yeah, so. I think he's a famous enough character that people knew it.
Yeah, I wonder about that.
So he throws her over his shoulder. Right. And it's kind of good. Like, I think it's funny because they're breaking up the sexual tension here by getting into some physical comedy, getting back to the sitcom style of the show. So he takes her upstairs, but meanwhile, if you're that drunk and you're like about to pass out and someone throws you, I would throw up all over his
I know, the way, especially the way he carried her out.
Right. Okay, so they go into the bedroom, and again, I've noticed that the macrame canopy is gone. But I guess it's not going to work here because he's got to throw her onto the bed. Right. So they needed to have all that clear. So, but Raggedy Ann is still there. Don't worry, guys.
Yes.
She's still sitting in that chair, like Angela sits.
And you know what I noticed about this scene? He carries her upstairs, he puts her in the bed, and then he goes right to the drawer where her pajamas are.
Right.
And he opens the drawer and he knows exactly where they're at, right? Yeah. Because we covered that in the was it the first or second episode?
Yeah, the second
where
one.
They talk. You can go in with my unmentionables.
Right.
So now he immediately knows where everything is because he's allowed to go in the room. I thought that was interesting.
That, yeah. I mean, he probably put the nightgown there. So
right. Exactly. He knows where everything is.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, why would he know where her nightgown is? And then I thought about that episode where they talk about him cleaning her room.
Right, and he even like tried to streamline it and put stuff in different spots.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You're doing it all wrong.
Right.
I remember that, yeah.
So he gets her into bed. Now I notice here that she's wearing shorts. It's not a skirt.
I know.
It's like shorts
and
I
thought it was a skirt.
Yeah, I wonder if they did that because there was going to be kind of this physical comedy of her getting thrown into bed.
And shorts and pantyhose maybe were a thing.
Right, yes. Ooh, yeah. But though we know that Angela likes those long shorts. Those are her are her casual dressy shorts. So he gives her the nightgown and Angela's like, Wendy was right. You are cute.
Right. Well, first she's like, come here, and then she tries to attack him again.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, So then, she does. She tries to... Like, Tony is really the only thing that is between the two of them actually having sex in this episode. Because, well, that and the fact that she immediately passes out after she tries to. But yeah, I mean, she was going for it again. So he's just like, as he's trying to get away from her, she just passes out and he drops her and she's out cold.
That. Yeah.
So he pulls a blanket over her and he's not sure if he's going to, I mean... I know he says, like, you're going to regret this in the morning, but is he really going to regret it?
No, he probably would have regretted if he would have slept with her.
Right. Especially at this point because she's actually just passed out. He'd have to wake her up and then see if she still wanted to have sex.
Right, because you have to get consent.
Right.
Which not sure he could.
No. But see, the way this is done for the 80s, I think is great because Tony is a really good guy. Like, he's not going to take advantage of her since she is drunk. And, as much as he might be tempted, like, he's going to take the high road. And I know that this is a different situation because obviously these two people have to work together after this. But I feel like Tony would make the same decision in any situation he was in.
Yes.
So...
I agree with that.
Now, we're seeing outside of Angela's door for the first time ever because we normally only see this view from like the hallway area into her room. And there's that bench.
The bench.
There's this wooden bench that I swear they just move that bench around wherever they need the bench. Like sometimes it's downstairs under the window. Most of the time it's there. Then sometimes it's upstairs in like that hallway area against the wall. And so now it's upstairs outside Angela's door, meaning that it would be against that opposite wall. So yeah, it's just like the bench, the fill space bench.
Yeah, just wherever they need to fill the space.
So he leaves, she goes to sleep. Now, Mona comes in the next morning, and the kitchen is still a disaster.
Well, yeah.
But I thought it was quite out of character for Tony to go to bed and not clean the kitchen.
Yeah.
But I guess he had to, otherwise we weren't going to get Mona coming in and seeing the destruction.
Yeah, high heels in the toaster.
Right, and maybe he was pretty drunk.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He probably just want to go to sleep.
Right, or go take a cold shower. So,
yeah, that too.
So she comes in and she sees that there's flour everywhere. Angela's shoes are in the toaster.
Right, for some reason.
Yeah. And so she goes upstairs and she opens up Angela's door and she's asking her what happened. Angela is way hungover and now wearing the nightgown that Tony gave her over
I didn't understand that one. But it is a very drunk thing to do,
right.
probably.
At some point, she woke up and just put that nightgown on.
They're thinking maybe she was naked,
right.
Or didn't have any clothes on.
Right. So Mona is so excited that Angela is hungover. Again, Mona has...
she's excited she had a good time.
Right. But again, Mona has still not acknowledged the fact that she completely forgot her daughter's birthday. And
yeah, that's odd.
It's so just weird.
Letting that one ride.
I know. So Angela, she's asking her what happened, like what happened in the kitchen. Angela's trying to piece this together. And she's like, Tony came home, he'd been drinking at the Y. That doesn't seem to make any sense to Mona. And she's like, he felt bad that he forgot her birthday. And so at first Angela thinks she was baking a cake, and that doesn't sound right either. And then finally she's like, oh, I remember Tony felt bad he forgot my birthday, so we went into the kitchen and baked a kiss.
Right.
And then Mona's like, what? And so she remembers that she kissed Tony in the kitchen.
Right, then it escalates from there.
Right, and Mona's like, tell me everything. What can you remember? She's banging on her head.
I know, and meanwhile she's hungover.
So then Angela says she remembers rolling around on the bed, and then she says, I think I slept with Tony. And Mona's super excited. Like, this is what Mona, I think, has been hoping for the whole time. Yeah. This is why she hired him. Right? Yes. So, so as a kid, when I watched this episode, I just kind of was like, oh, okay, so she thinks she slept with him. I don't even really know that I knew what that meant at the time. Mm-hmm. But now as a grown woman, why would she think that she had sex with him, then put her pantyhose and her shorts back on?
And her nightgown over all of it.
Over. Like, if you wake up with your pantyhose and your shorts still on, I think there's a pretty good chance that you didn't have sex with anyone.
Yeah, that you went to bed that way.
Right. Yeah. So, things you notice when you're no longer a child watching this show. So, Angela goes downstairs. She's now just wearing her pink robe.
And Tony's cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because it's a disaster.
Right. And he did that pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Like, Mona wasn't up there that long. So Tony must have, like, raced down there and just started cleaning. So he's like, how do you feel? She feels lousy. He gets her a tomato juice and Tabasco, which that doesn't sound like it's going to help at all.
No. I mean, I know a lot of people will have... Some people will have a Bloody Mary the next day, which are the main ingredients in a Bloody Mary.
But there's also alcohol.
Well, there's vodka in it, yes, yeah. But maybe he's thinking... And then people will do that the next day because it's like the hair of the dog kind of thing. But also, They say the tomato juice helps with the hangover. I don't know. Probably not. Yeah,
you have way more experiences with hangovers than I do. But that just sounds terrible. I mean, you just need a lot of water.
Right, like, who wants to drink that?
Right. So... they kind of start to talk about it, and he's asking if she wants to talk about it. She's like, I don't really know what to say. She's thinking that they slept together at this point. And so Tony's like, it's fine if you don't want to talk about it. It's not that big of a deal. And now she's offended because she's like, how are you taking this so lightly?
What do you mean it's not that big of a deal?
Right. And so she blurts out that they had sex. And Tony's like, we did? And he says that they did not have sex. And I love that Tony says, I'm not that kind of guy. Where I fully believe that Tony is going to get consent to have sex with someone before he does. But Tony is exactly that kind of guy.
Right. Like, he has a history.
Right. Like, probably not with Angela because they have this relationship and it's different with Angela. But yes, in most cases, if there is a woman willing to have sex with Tony, he's going
for it.
Right. So, he says that really they just fooled around a little bit. They threw some flour at each other and then they kissed. So she's starting to remember now. She remembers that he slammed her into the wall.
Right.
And so she's like, okay, so all we did was kiss. Or she says, all we did was you kissed me. And Tony's like, yeah, except you kissed me. So they're kind of like playing around with who kissed who. But really, if you look at the kiss, they both kind of kiss each other. I feel like they were careful to not have one lean in more than the other so that there really wasn't anyone who kissed the other one.
And side note though, did the cake ever get baked?
No.
I don't think it. I mean, he says we baked a cake. We threw some flour around.
Right.
He does mention that, but I don't know. Just continuity purposes, I don't think that cake ever got baked.
No. And so I think where we left off was the cake was like in the spring form, but I don't think it had actually gone in the oven yet.
No, unless he came down, baked the cake, and then went to bed.
Right. Yeah, no. So
but he would have cleaned the kitchen.
She didn't get sex, and she didn't get a cake.
Yeah,
and her mom forgot her birthday.
Right, and her heels were in the toaster.
Right. It's kind of a shitty birthday.
Yeah.
All right, so she's like, well, if I did kiss you, I didn't mean it. And he's like, yes, you did. You meant it. And then she's like, well, if I did mean it, then you liked it. And he's like, well, how would you know, Miss Lost Weekend?
Yes.
So we didn't get a chance to watch this movie.
No.
Even though we really want to.
Yes. At first I didn't know it was a reference to a movie, and you were like, it's gotta be. Then we went down a rabbit hole of looking up Lost Weekend.
Oh my goodness.
And the description of this movie.
Yes. So this movie is from 1945. And it is basically a man who is an alcoholic where between Friday and Monday, he gets himself into so much trouble. Like, he's like getting arrested. He ends up in an actual like hospital for part of it. I think at one point he's like ready to kill himself. Like, it seems completely bizarre.
Right, because he's trying to not drink, but he ends up drinking.
Right.
The whole weekend.
Yes. So if you haven't seen this, I mean, I can't vouch for it because we actually haven't seen it.
But it looks insane.
But it sounds insane, so we are going to watch it. So that is what that reference means, which is basically like she remembers nothing from the whole time. Angela agrees that she was pretty out of it the night before.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, but we both got carried away. And then she asked, like, well, if we both got so carried away, and she's basically trying to ask him
why it didn't happen.
Right. And, she's like, you must have had a lot to drink. And he makes another fat joke.
Right. Carrying your body upstairs sort of sobered me up. What the?
I know. It's so awful. I mean, it's meant in a funny way, but it's just not funny these days. So, and then she's like, well, you must have had a headache. And he's like, no, I must have looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like, she's basically giving him any out possible as to why he didn't sleep with her. And then he's like, no, you didn't look bad. And then he basically says that, he doesn't want anything to change between them. And that if anything ever did happen, he would want her to remember it. And this is like this is a pretty memorable scene, I think, as for them. I guess like an iconic Angela and Tony scene, I would say. Like, this is probably like a fan favorite for their relationship. But he basically says, like, I would want you to remember it, and you would.
Oh, yeah.
And then she says, and you would too.
Right.
Yeah. So they kind of like leave it off with that.
That was done well.
Yeah. So the tension is still there. And then that's really the end, of this part of the episode for season 1 and their relationship. So later that day, Mrs. Rosini brings the kids back. They're all excited to see them. And Mrs. Rosini found out that it was Angela's birthday and gave her a giant... I remember those bottles of wine. I feel like you still see them. They're probably like in Buca di Beppo or something in the corner.
Oh, Costco has them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they sell one right now. It's $99.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's a tremendous... I almost took a picture of it when I was there yesterday for you.
What is it called? I don't even know.
I don't know if it's the same brand or anything, but Costco has an oversized bottle of wine right now.
Yes,
which
that's
makes
funny. With
total
like the little...
sense.
It's like a little wicker bowl bottom to it, almost.
Yeah, that's different. I think that's what is it called? Sangria, right? Isn't that type of sangria? I think so.
I feel like it would be something Italian, though.
My parents had one. I think it's sangria.
Oh, okay. That's funny. So Angela's like, okay, thank you. And then they decide to go lock that up. So... Right,
because,
Samantha wants to show Mrs. Rosini her bedroom, which is really cute. So Mrs. Rosini goes upstairs with the kids. Mona comes back in, and... she's like, how are the lovebirds doing this morning? And Angela's like, oh, okay, I got this wrong. Turns out we didn't sleep together. Does she tell her they kiss? I think she does tell her they kiss. And then Mona says, and you believed him? So, not only does Mona never acknowledge that she forgot Angela's birthday in this episode, but now she's basically saying that, like, Tony did have sex with her and is just lying about it now.
Right.
Which is ridiculous. And she's, like, okay with that.
I know, it's a strange ending.
Yeah, it's very odd. But it's Mona, and it's the 80s, so we're going to let it go. So that's it.
Yep, that was the episode.
We have completed season 1.
Was I supposed to play the audience?
No.
Applause.
No, because...
Because I closed that window.
That's fine. Okay, so... do you want to do episode rating? Do you want to go first?
Sure. I gave this one an 8. I feel like it had a lot of laugh out loud moments.
Yes.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then even rewatching it again after the note, sometimes we'll rewatch, and I still was laughing at the joke. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, there are a couple really cute jokes in here. I gave it a 9.
Ooh.
I know, but that's because
I'm more of a critic.
I'm more of a romantic. Which actually I'm not at all in real life.
Let's say what?
Yeah. But yeah, I gave it a 9 because I feel like it sets up that first, like, this episode probably got people coming back for season 2. Like, the show was already doing well, but I feel like it was good to go out on this kind of note. Because it did get people probably interested in their relationship to come back for season 2.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I just thought it was funny. It was kind of silly. It's a little more risque than the average episode. Hence
it was a good season finale.
Sexuality and drug use.
Yes, constant drug use in this episode. Yeah. Like it was Breaking Bad.
Right.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you!
I'll go first, and I'm going to say that Tony is the boss in this episode. And I chose him because if it had been up to Angela, they would have had sex. So he was, and then their relationship would have been awkward and whatever's going to happen after that. So Tony kind of kept them on the right track, maybe as much as he may not have wanted to. Mona was useless, and the kids were in Brooklyn.
Mona couldn't even remember her birthday or admit that she forgot it.
I know. Mona never apologized for forgetting your daughter's birthday. Okay, your turn.
Same thing, Tony. It was obvious. Same reasons. He kept it together, kept the train on the tracks. And,
right.
And it really could have gone south. But overall, yes, definitely Tony.
Yeah, Angela didn't even realize...
And the kids were hardly in it, so they weren't even an option.
Right. Angela didn't even realize that she didn't have sex and all of her clothes were still on.
And her shoes were in the toaster.
Right. Why? Yes. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. You can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram. Send us a direct message, or on any of the posts, you can comment about anything we missed or any little tidbits that you would have for future episodes. Or you can go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast, and there you can leave a voice message. All right, so we have a song.
We do. It is Haley Mosley singing the Who's the Boss theme song. And the description is me singing the Who's the Boss theme song to an iPhone on my parents' seaside porch.
Nice. It sounds good for going through an iPhone. She has a great voice.
Yeah, so here it is.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and tell all your friends and give you a big pat on the back.
There's a time for love and a time for living. You take the chance and face the wind. An open road and a road that's hidden to a brand new life around the bend. There were times I lost a dream or two, found the trail, and at the end was you. There's a path you take and a path untaken. The choice is up to you, my friend. Nights are long, but you might awake to a brand new life, a brand new life, a brand new life around the bend.